Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Blank Pages and our special guest, Amy Daws.
Hi, thanks for
Hi,
having me, guys.
Welcome.
it's nice to have you. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
We were just talking about being tipsy at a taco bar, which is certainly different from a 10 a.m. podcast.
I know.
You're 10 a.m. I'm at 8 a.m. and I'm like, yeah.
Oh, bless you. That's early. Bless you.
Yeah.
And you look nice. You look great.
I'm just like, I don't think I'm just still up from last night. That's how it is. Yeah, I wish I was I can no longer do that anymore. Wow, those days are over.
Oh, I love it.
It has been like a little bit crazy. And Amy, before you came on, I was telling Stacey and Colleen, like I barely slept last night. And I don't know if it's the full moon or all of this drama that is going on. I'm like, I haven't even posted today because I'm like, I'm just gonna stay away from everything today and like just drink coffee and hold on.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
The drama is a lot. It's a lot. And it's constant. Yeah. It's all you see everywhere right now. So yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Well, and like we were talking about the other, it's bringing such a negative to such a wonderful, like there's such much positive, but all of a sudden it's like that negative aspect they're all trying to curve around to that it's, and it's just, it's so tiring when you're in this industry going, no, we actually bring so much positive. Why is this always turned around on us, So I think it's a little of the full moon. I think it's all of it, but yeah, I slept restless last night too. My dog was pacing and I'm like, why can't any of us sleep?
Yeah. I think it's negative. Yes, for sure. And that stinks. But I also think like romance readers are always going to be romance readers no matter what. Right. So like, no matter what the mainstream media says, I just still feel pretty confident that the readers will continue to consume what they enjoy,
Yeah.
Yes. And that
I think actually in this, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that it's a good thing, like reading romance books. Like we were discussing last night, some comments that said, put your books back in the nightstand. You should be ashamed. Let's bring the stigma back. I know, right? I'm like, it's like, F you, dude. Yeah. Like F you, go away. Let us read our damn books.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think this is a great time to actually, let's all even take more of the positive. Let's all really, embrace the greatness of this, highlight the good aspects. Unfortunately, it never seems to be what people like to. They love drama, but I want to embrace right now the good of it.
Amy has a pretty interesting and I think very good story. And for those of you guys who don't know, I'm going to introduce Amy as Tires.
That fits. That's very fitting. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because with that drama, there's people that aren't embracing the romance community or think it's bad. But for me, little me sneaking into a tire shop waiting room to write my dirty smut, I was welcomed with open arms by a bunch of middle-aged dudes that thought it was funny, that managed this tire shop, and they were happy to save a table for me to come in whenever I wanted to write. So yeah, it's a little weird to find your inspiration in a tire shop waiting room, but yeah. That's what happened.
Can I ask what made you actually decide to go into one and sit there all day? I would think about it, but I would not probably, I don't know if I would actually go in and be like, okay, I'm going to sit here all day and watch you.
I know. Well, it was 6 years ago now, I think, when I finally was able to start writing full time. So I just quit my day job. The imposter syndrome was strong. I was sitting at home in my office that was all ready for me and just feeling totally paralyzed. I couldn't write. I was totally having writer's block. I had this story all plotted, but nothing was coming. And so I was kind of trying coffee shops and stuff and nothing was working. And then I literally needed a new set of tires on my car. And so I went to this local store here called Tires, just 3 tires, not 4.
That's right.
And I brought my computer and I went into their waiting room and I was like, oh, dang, this is nice.
Get that gift. Was that Tiffany gift?
Yeah. Oh, dang. Yeah. I mean, the seating was wonderful. The coffee was free. And it wasn't just a little coffee pot. It was an automated machine that dispensed lattes and hot chocolate and all sorts of stuff. And they had free cookies. And I'm kind of a frugal girl at heart. So my inner cheap girl was like, yes, I have arrived.
What's that commercial that the girl sees beef jerky and she's like, I live here now. That's how I be with that. I feel like I live here now.
That's literally, I walked in there and I was like, I think this is my Luke's Diner and I'm Lorelai Gilmore and I've found my home. So I started writing in there, and the words were flowing like the complimentary coffee. It was great. And yeah, I just decided to keep going back because, you know, once you like find your mojo, you don't want to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was bringing multiple people's cars in for oil changes and just to have an excuse to come into their waiting room. And then one time I just snuck in. And you guys know, as authors, a lot of our like writing is a part of sharing our process with readers. So I was talking about this on social media, and eventually the manager found out and saw the posts, and he reached out to me on Facebook and was like, you don't have to sneak in. You are welcome anytime. In fact, come on in today. I have a gift for you. And they'd reserved a table for me. They had all this tires swag. And they were like, come in anytime. You can be our writer in residence. I was like, is that a thing? I mean, we'll make it a thing. Why not? So
yeah, see, now that is like freaking wonderful. And that did go viral.
Yeah.
And you've had a few things go viral very positively and kind of like rebirth a lot of really wonderful good stuff.
I
right?
know it's very wholesome, and like, and it went viral before TikTok was even around. So it was like BuzzFeed reported on it, and all these like news outlets. I was doing like a Canada Public Radio interview, like, you know, it was like the craziest thing. Like it just snowballed. And I think, yeah, it was just really wholesome. It was like a tire shop and a smut writer. It's an unlikely pairing, but like it just goes to show when there's like no judgment and just like letting people's personalities speak for themselves, like you can really find a friend anywhere.
Definitely. So I have to ask, have they read the book?
Their wives have.
Okay.
Okay.
And like,
I was like,
even after the whole thing blew up, I ended up writing a story about a smut writer who sneaks into a tire shop waiting room and gets busted by a hot mechanic. So it spurred this whole book series for me. And I had a book signing there at Tires. Of course, the coffee and cookies were complimentary. Like, they let me shoot the cover in their garage. Like the owner of the company even showed up to the photo shoot and was like, running around the garage looking for a tool like that the model could hold that looked really manly, you know. And it was just like, you just can't make this stuff up. It was just so sweet, and they're the sweetest guys, and they really they give a good name to romance for us. So yeah,
they do. And like this is the part that I love. This is like, and this is what I think is most common, not a minority of people with very loud voices who cross boundaries, which in every community is going to have some individuals who do things we don't agree with.
You can't control the general public. You really can't.
Exactly. So, literally, that's what we're talking about. We're like, I don't know how to stop this. Like you can't. So but we can keep pushing all of the good stuff out there and all of the smiles and still having a good time.
Well, and something like that's so wholesome. I mean, why is Hallmark so popular at Christmas time? I think we just love. Like, you know, we love that goodness and purity of people being nice without a reason. You know, it's so beautiful sometimes. And I think we're sometimes so lacking of it that we find that we're like, oh my God, isn't this so beautiful? And it's like, God, this should be every day, people. This should be like how we all live.
And it could be.
Like, all these old men, I just want to hug them all.
Lovely human interactions. Well, and it honestly, that's a friendship that I still have with the tire shop owner. So I still go into Tires, and I still bring my computer. A lot of times now, though, I do a lot more talking than writing because I know everybody there now.
Yeah.
So it's
like, how's sisters, friends, cousins? How's she doing?
Yes, exactly.
On TikTok, you've had other things go viral, though, since then, including older books and also passion flicks.
Oh, yes. Well, and so to snowball off the tire shop story, it's so crazy because the first book of mine to ever be optioned for a movie ended up being the one that I wrote, like that was inspired by Tires. So yeah, it was my book, Wait With Me. Passion Flicks optioned it for film. And yeah, they wanted to see that tire shop waiting room come to life on screen. And oh my God, it was such an incredible experience. They just filmed it this past November. I got to be on set the whole time. So we shot for 3 weeks straight in Atlanta, Georgia. And I got to be on set the whole time. And I was making TikTok content that whole time. And one of my TikToks just blew up, and all of a sudden, this almost 5-year-old book now was in the top 10 on Amazon again. So like while TikTok can sometimes get a bad rap for being toxic or a lot of drama or this and that, there is so much good there. Like there's so much
It
there's
really
just
is.
people wanting to find books and wanting to know more about this romance community. And yeah, I've been very grateful to
And I
TikTok.
personally loved all of the content from Onset. I was like, this is gold.
Yes, it
I
was
was like, I'm
exciting.
living vicariously through you, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, it just looked incredible. And I heard that this set was a very like happy place to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
Absolutely. I mean, the actors are wonderful. So the guy who played our lead mechanic for Wait With Me was Andrew Biernat, which is kind of a familiar name in the romance community because he's been on like over 500 romance novel covers. So he's been getting into acting for several years now, and he has really come so far, and he's so talented, and he was just amazing. But it was so fun to have this little piece of Romance Landia like cross over into the big screen with Passion Flicks. And I was so happy to have him on set and be a part of the movie. He really made the movie. He was great.
I have like a little
So surreal
backstory with him. I did with my highest bidder, so very serious, very like CEO businessman book. With a little bit of darkness and everything, we were paid to have additional photos done with a photographer, including some video snippets. And Andrew is so cute that he'd be like so serious, and then he'd just start laughing like in the video. Like he is adorable. He did an excellent job, and we got the content that we needed. But it was nice to see those little things of like just his genuine personality.
Yeah. Oh, he's a total cheeseball, like 100% goofball. It was funny because he's totally like he's always sultry and serious on camera, but on this he was like very like goofy on set and exactly not what you'd picture on the covers, but kind of fun still.
Yeah. But the going back to what you were saying about like it shows that books don't have to have a time shelf. Like, you know, so many people go like, oh, that's old. I want the new stuff, new stuff. And here's, you know, our books like, you know, my 10 years old, like can still be relevant. And people still are finding it and still discovering and falling in love with it. And I love that books can be endlessly, you can find them. Like, don't just because it was like 5 years ago, don't like, oh, I want her new stuff. No, like go back, discover her, like grow too.
Oh, for sure.
I love that.
And TikTok's been huge for me for my career just because I'm not the quickest writer in the romance industry. A lot of authors are publishing multiple books a year, and I've been slowing down for many years, publishing once every 6 or 7 months if I can. And now this year I haven't published in over a year now, but I'm still sustaining with my other books. They're still selling. You know, it was a Book Talkers TikTok that went viral. Oh God, now it's almost been 2 years ago. And that catapulted my book Blindsided to #1 in the Kindle store. And that was a 3-year-old book at the time. So
and it stayed in the top 100 for a while, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
I still constantly see it.
Yeah. No, I do too.
And it's, that's the TikTok engine just running, you know, they just kind of feed that book over and over to people. And I do the same. I make my own content and market my stuff until I have new stuff, because that's, you know, just the cool part about that viral potential of TikTok is you can just reach new readers all the time. So
I do a horrible job marketing new stuff because I know the back catalog exactly what to say and do. So I just like, I'm like, my back catalog is my baby right now, but my love for writing is that's where I put my new releases just to keep going and have that love. But I'm like, I need to get better at switching it up and doing some marketing for front catalog, but
okay, then you and I need to switch, because I have a problem with like I'm like, you know, I feel like, oh, they've moved on, they don't want to hear about the old stuff now and stuff. I'll forget it, and I'm like, no, I need to like, so I'm bad at doing that.
I mean, we even have like Ice Planet Barbarians like that. I remember that went viral on Facebook, that went viral on Twitter, and then like 5 years later TikTok is like, oh my God, look at this new book. I'm like, I thought we all read this. We didn't. We did not. There are more of us now. There are lots more now.
I know that's one thing. There's endless readers. Like I think people always think like I've hit my limit. No, you can endless readers out there.
Yes, it's infinite. Finding you. It's infinite out there. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So looping back to the movie, I'm interested to know if you had any say in anything, if you were allowed to make decisions, any of that. Can you talk about that process a little bit?
Oh yeah, Passion Flicks really, they involved me in a lot of the process. First of all, casting, they sent me, so they basically picked their favorites of the auditions, and then they sent me their favorites, and I got to pick. And I was like, you guys want me to pick? I don't know if I'm qualified. And they're like, you're these are your characters. Like, we want to hear.
Oh.
And I think they would have overrode me, maybe. Overrode.
We're not editors here.
Yeah.
No, no.
Like, that's what we'll pay
Sounds
somebody for
good.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they would have stepped in if they thought I was making the wrong choice, but I think they sent me a bunch of great options. And so there wasn't really a bad choice. So that was amazing. I got to do casting. I got to edit the screenplay, which I did a lot, probably more than they wanted to. At some of the times they were like, Amy, no, you're changing the story. Don't do that. We want to stay
You're
true
like,
to
but
the book.
it's my story.
Yeah.
I know. Well, that's the thing is, us as authors, we're constantly
Yeah.
editing our own work. And like, I wrote that book 5 years ago. I can do better now. And so I'm like, well, we could say this instead. And they're like, but our viewers, like, we pride ourselves on staying true to the books. So we want to stay true. And I was like, okay, fine. So they
Which
changed
is-
a few things, but nothing.
Which is so rare in Hollywood,
very
and
rare.
I admire so much, because to me, I don't understand. You already have these readers that love this story, that want to see the story. The other people don't know. So if you keep it the same, you're going to please both, instead
Yeah.
of like, I hate when they take a story and they're like, oh, we got to do our own turn on it. I'm like, then you've just pissed off all those readers that
Yeah.
love the story as it was. Yeah.
Mhm, I
So
know.
that's amazing. Like, it's
Yeah,
like a dream project, I think, for all authors. Like,
Oh yeah, I felt super lucky. And then they invited me to set, and I think I was planning to leave after a few days, but I fell in love with the cast and the crew and the makeup artist. And she was like, stay. If you can stay, you should stay. And I literally had a friend I was staying with in Atlanta. It was a college friend, so I was enjoying reconnecting with her. My husband and daughter were back home, and they're like, Mom, if you're loving it and like feel like valuable, you should stay. And so I ended up staying the full 3 weeks, and no regrets there, because it was amazing to be a part of the process and learn a lot about the process of filmmaking and everybody's individual jobs and how everybody's just such a big part of the big picture in the end. So yeah, and it was cool to just be the source material. They had access to me at all times. So oftentimes they, like, even the actors would come up to me and they'd be like, so I read the book, but like, what is Kate feeling here? Can you like tell me? And I was like, oh God, okay, I wrote this book 5 years ago. Let me think.
Yeah.
No, it was great. I mean, I'm so proud of the movie. I think they did a great adaptation, and I think I'm so grateful to Passion Flix for the experience.
Yes. And it is live right now on Amazon as well as Passion Flix, right?
Yes, it's you can rent it through Amazon Prime.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Excellent. I love it.
I know, that's so exciting.
Did I say, are you doing more?
Nothing official yet, but
Nothing.
hopefully.
Okay, just kidding. Just kidding.
Hopefully.
Yeah. By the time this airs, who knows?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I did see your pros and cons list on Facebook for staying.
Yes,
That
yes.
was so cute.
Well, not so cheesy, but wholesome. I was like
Yes.
just on my laptop, and I like was closing all these old documents, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot I wrote a pros and cons list for staying on set for 3 weeks and going back home. And it's just hard to balance the career and the family life, but
It is.
I'm so lucky. My husband and daughter are just like so supportive. My daughter's 11, and so she's pretty self-sufficient, and my husband's super supportive. So again, just another great, like, wholesome family that exists in this romance community that,
What did
people
your
wanna-
husband think when he first found out you were writing like romance books, like spicy romance books? So I
You know,
remember.
God, I don't even remember fully. I know, like, I'd been reading them forever. So, he wasn't super surprised. He's not a reader either. So it wasn't really until I got into my British sports romance that he was like, oh, I'm interested. Okay, let's read more of those, But yeah,
So he read it?
Oh yeah, he's
And-
he did the audiobooks, because he's not a
okay.
reader.
I don't know if that's more uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. No, he enjoyed it. He's always been super supportive. As with any new business, when you're starting out and struggling to pay any bills or make any money at this job, it's stressful on the family. I was still working a day job too, working really late nights. But like, once it started making money, of course, he was very very happy for me. But
This is amazing.
yeah. Mhm.
I remember Sean looked over and I didn't tell him. I was just like, I'm writing, and I didn't tell him what. And he looked over and it was a sex scene. We're in bed and he goes, what the fuck is that? I was By the way, it's spicy romance that I'm writing.
But sweetie, it's about you.
Yeah.
No, my big joke is when people come up to me and they're like, so you write these steamy books. Is your home sex life like super hot? And I look them dead in the eye and I'm like, nothing could be further from the truth. I'm like, the light just strains out of their face. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, no.
I always joke that like sometimes Sean will help me out with like the murder scenes, but not the sex scenes. Like,
yeah.
It's funny how you guys that married always get these kind of questions where I'm like, they don't ask me, like being single, they don't ask, so is your sex? I'm like, this is why I write it, people.
It's fiction. It's fiction for a reason.
Yeah.
And it helps us so much, like romance books with sex education and just worthiness and all the loving feelings. Like it really is very fulfilling just to read romance books and experience that.
And it makes you crave that intimacy. So you just want to reconnect more with your partner or, significant other.
I have so many partners and men who will purchase boxes and in the comments are like, please make my wife blush, or my wife said she loves your books. Thank you for writing that. And like, it's all the partners buying them because they know that, their partners are, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to make people happy. Tell us about all the things British,
especially
and how this happened.
My other home is London, so me and yes, bring it on.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I mean, my husband doesn't even actually watch soccer, but I think just because there was a sports aspect, he was like, yeah, I'll read those, I'll listen to those audiobooks. But I honestly didn't mean to like base a 10-book series over in London. So it's my Harris Brothers series. It's about 4 brothers who all play professional soccer in England. If you say soccer over there, you get in big trouble.
Ooh,
okay,
buddy.
You have to say football. You have to say football. And yeah, basically, I think my first series, my London Lover series, was sort of this American Girls in London thing that I was going to do. And as the series grew, more British characters became secondaries, and then those secondaries needed books. And so by the time I got to my first British heroine, I was like, what's super British that I can give her for a background or her family? And I was like, what if she has 4 brothers who play professional soccer, like for their dad, and they're like this huge football family. And what's funny is at the time, I didn't even really know sports romance was such a popular genre. I don't even know if I'd read any sports romance at that point, So I was like, after I released her book, people are like, when are the brothers coming out? And I was like, oh my God, I have to learn soccer.
Football.
Yes, I have to learn football. Like, crap, I have to learn football because you're right. Like, I just set up this whole big family with this big trauma of losing their mother at a young age. And I just I can't just abandon them.
The damaged heroes.
Yes.
I love them.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's how I learned a little bit about British football.
And now book 1 is Blindsided. Is that right?
No, actually, Blindsided is one of the spinoffs. So book 1 is Challenge. So there's 5 books for the brothers. And then I started doing the teammates. And it's actually book 7 in the series is Blindsided, which is the one that blew up. And that's really what brought readers to the whole family series too, because the Harris brothers they're all on the same team. So they see all these brothers who are all married and happy and having kids by the time you get to book 7. And so they meet this. And book 7 is the Scottish hero. So he's the Scottish villain.
With the accent. I love the accents. But just so people listening are aware, even though it's book 7, these are interconnected standalones. So you could start with Blindsided.
Anywhere. Absolutely. Yeah. And from a business standpoint, I always try to release my new releases alone. I don't connect them to the series right away because the worst thing that could happen is a reader sees it's book 7 and doesn't give it a chance, So I'm like, yeah, I'll just release it alone. And then have in the back matter, this is a part of a whole world. Go check out the other characters' books, which is, just a great way to find new readers.
It is. And it removes those barriers, just like discrete covers have been removing some barriers. Anything that can keep a reader from trying the book out, I'm like, I will make an option for you. I will make an option that works.
I know, exactly.
You did that, didn't you? With some discrete covers? Yeah.
I have discretes now for all of my series. And my next release will be the first release I have where I'll be releasing the discrete along with the sexy, because I'm still always going to do a sexy cover. Same. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't not. It's been such a part of building my brand. Like, I don't see how I could take that away from readers that have been here since the beginning and still enjoy the hot man chest covers. So
well, and why not have options? Why have only one? You know, like, let's give them, you know, like, there's a lot of personalities, like people like different stuff, and then some people want to read on the bus with no cover, some people want to pet that abs, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm really grateful to Blindsided and my Scottish hero Mac for bringing so many new readers into that Harris world, because I built this 10-book series, you know, of that I want people to fall in love with. And so, Mac and Freya, the two characters in Blindsided, totally just opened the door for everyone to meet the rest of the family. And I think Blindsided had that it factor to get #1 on Amazon, because it's a plus size heroine. It's a Scottish footballer, and it's best friends to lovers. And so it just had a lot of things going for it. And, you know, the plus size genre, I feel like, is really booming these days. Like, readers really want to see more size representation in their books. And I think that's amazing. I'm a plus size person, so I wrote what I knew. And I think you can write plus size characters a lot of different ways. You know, some readers want to see, I want to see a plus size character where she's completely confident in her size. It's never even an issue. She's just a plus size girl living in a world, and it's not a barrier in any way. That's not necessarily how I wrote Freya. I wrote, like, for Freya, I wrote my lived experience, which is just insecurities and doubting if a guy actually likes you, thinking she's best friends with this footballer, but she's like his dirty little secret kind of thing. Like, she just kind of felt that about herself, but it was all in her head, you know? And so, like, it's hard, because I totally love a confident plus size person. I follow a lot of plus size confident content creators out there, and they're doing such amazing things for women and their bodies. But like, those
as are you by identifying
Yes.
things and allowing her to cope and having that worthiness of self-love and being loved. Like, you're also doing amazing things. It's just a different path, right?
Yeah,
But it's all on that sex thing of positivity is, when did it only skinny girls become like worthy of love or something? But in these romance books, we're making it that, look at, we all should be loved. We all deserve love. And why, you know, characters should show us all. Like, again,
and we all deserve to feel sexy and be made to feel sexy.
And most of the time they are, I mean, like, what's to say, you know, girl with curves or, you know, heavier set or what, it is not sexy. Like, who said that? And so I love that romance is starting to be like, screw that. We're going to take it back, and we're going to show you that, like, they're more than sexy. They're confident.
And I think for readers too, they'll identify like that healing, and maybe that go on that positivity journey as they read, you know, her coming to love herself. And I really love that.
I do too. And just to toot the romance genre horn, is that the saying? Toot the horn? We are very
we could
progressive.
get really dirty. Ooh.
Yeah. We have like consistently for decades, the genre has pushed for inclusivity and diversity, and been a front runner in literature for being more inclusive. So just a little toot toot. Right there. Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny, TikTok's taught me a lot about even my own probably internalized fat phobia. I think as millennials, it's been easy to grow up with a little bit of that internalized fat phobia, because it was such a part of our culture. Gosh, I see so many TikToks of like the fat shaming that went on in the early 2000s to even celebrities and stuff. And it's wild, you know, what we grew up in. And so for all of us we're all on our own healing journey, I think, through that. And that's basically what I gave to Freya, was a little bit of a healing journey of trying to figure out, you know, how to love the skin she's in, while also still being relatable. I get the most feedback. Like, that book hit #1 for a reason. It's relatable. And I like pride myself on relatable content through all facets, not just my writing, but my social media and how I talk to readers at events and stuff. It's just, I'm me all the time. And I think that makes it relatable to people.
And I think that's the way to succeed, is just to be transparent and be who you are, so that when they see you here, you're exactly who they think you are. And when you're doing this, you're exactly who they think you are. Versus some people don't feel very comfortable doing that, which is absolutely fine. You don't have to be transparent or tell people your entire life story. But just the consistency of knowing that they know you, that like because people feel like you're their friend on social
Yeah.
media, and I feel like
Yeah.
I'm talking to a friend.
I
So
know.
it makes it
Yeah.
easy when you're just you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
But
So
going
like,
back to like
yeah, go ahead.
the have like just because like somebody looks heavier. I was in LA at that time. I'm a Gen Z, but I was basically almost millennial. I was in LA acting at the bobblehead time where the girls are skinnier their heads. I mean skinnier the bodies, their heads were so big because they were so skinny. And it was so unbelievably so. It's like it doesn't matter. We all seem to fight weight in this world, like that image in our head of what we think we should look like. So, plus size, skinny size, the women are still battling the same thoughts in their head. So
Yeah.
that all that stuff is still relatable because we've all probably are suffering it. Like I had major fat phobia. I had a manager in acting like circle fat things on me. And I wasn't fat, but I wasn't like that skinny. Like you said, we were going through a time that, and I hope the girls aren't doing this now. It was unbelievably the most horrendous. Like you could find the most beautiful woman in the room and she still felt unworthy of love, and some guy was looking past her to the other hot girl. Like it was just the most, so I'm constantly fighting that. So reading about that is like, yes, oh my God, like you feel very relatable in that moment to somebody because it's like, yes, I suffer that too,
And I think
so
our
yeah.
culture is more educated. Like, I mean, we had America's
I hope
Next Top
so.
Model, and Tyra Banks has made statements about how she watches it back and she can't believe that they did some of the things that they did. Because in the moment, when you're not really educated on how harmful something is, I think it's easy to just go along with industry standards or whatever that mentality is. But there has been, I think, improvement. I can't speak onto the modeling industry or into acting in LA, but I can just for what I see on TV now and what we are consuming in our media, at least on my
It's
part.
slow, but I'm
It's
hoping
slow.
it's changing.
Yeah.
I don't want the girls to go through that, but yes,
Yeah,
but
no.
it's very relatable. I think it's just, unfortunately, with social media, the young girls are seeing a lot on TikTok of, and you can do all these filters now. So, I mean, I heard when we went back to COVID and people were doing Zoom meetings, they were so upset by the way they looked on screen. They were getting, like, they said, like, plastic surgery skyrocketed after Zoom meetings,
Oh
and it's
my
just like to hear
gosh.
this kind of stuff, and you're like, and mostly women, almost all women, and it's just like, wow, what we do to ourselves. So reading about people that go through these things, I think it's very helped healing towards something.
Cathartic.
So,
And it's funny because after Blindsided blew up on TikTok and I started seeing some reviews of people calling out some of the internalized fat phobia that Freya had, I started reflecting more. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to write another plus size character and I'm going to make her confident. So I wrote my book Last on the List, which is book 5 in my Wait With Me series, the final book in that series. And I was like, she's going to be confident. Like her size is not going to be an issue. And you know what's funny is in the end, I couldn't fully commit. I couldn't fully make her 100% confident because it just didn't feel relatable. Because like you said earlier, no matter the size, just having that confidence 100% of the time just doesn't feel like a character I could ever relate to fully, So while she was definitely more confident than Freya, she didn't have the body issues that Freya had. There were still moments where she needed to be validated. Sometimes externally, sometimes internally. She just had to kick herself in the butt and say, hey, you're better than that. Don't put yourself down,
Yeah. And we all have self-doubt. That's relatable.
Absolutely. That's human nature.
Yeah, it's real. Exactly.
Yeah.
So and I think that's why you do so well, because you write these relatable characters that anybody can go into your book and be like, oh, I see me in this character.
Yeah. Yeah. Or and even someone else, see another lived experience. You know what I mean? Like that's why for me, with Freya having some internalized fat phobia, I was like, hopefully someone else sees another lived experience and has their eyes opened a little bit. That's why diverse romance is great to read too, just because you want to experience other people's lived experiences and not just be in your own little blinders of your own reality.
Yes.
I've found that when I get annoyed with the characters, a lot of times it's because I'm doing the same thing. Like I would be annoyed with Freya or something like that, and then realize I'm sitting here most of the day going, oh God, my legs are too fat. I'm doing exactly, how you get mad at the very thing that you're doing. So I wonder a lot of that, if they could check themselves being like, oh God, I am that character, I'm constantly thinking about my weight, or and it's just to maybe put some thoughts in their head of going, oh God, maybe I do that too, and maybe I should stop hating myself so much,
And I love this conversation and acknowledging certain attributes of our romance books that are so helpful. And yeah, we're reading them in the masses. And people want to say that, you know, a dime a dozen or whatever, but they're not. It's not.
No.
And you can never be told enough that you are worthy, that this is real and it is reasonable, but you are better than that. And to pick yourself up. Like, we need more of this in the world, in our books and just in our everyday life.
Yeah, I agree.
So what is next for Amy Daws? Events, books, anything you can talk about. What's next?
Yes, I am trying to write. I talked about my last book, last on the list. That released over a year ago now in June of last summer. And so that hero had 3 brothers who all lived on a mountain compound that they'd created of like 3 little cabins, you know? So I was like, I knew as I was writing them, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a Mountain Men series. It's going to have a 7 Brides for 7 Brothers vibe. Not really, but you know, I loved that musical growing up. And so I was like, I just love the idea of these men all living together up in the mountain like on their own, like living off the land a little bit. And so it's very loosely, you know, inspired by that musical. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on now. And I really need to get writing because I lived and breathed the movie experience this past year. You know, it kind of came along a few months after my dad had passed away. So I was really unable to write anyways. So the movie came along at just the right time and I lived and breathed that experience. And I'm still honestly enjoying that experience because there's still people finding out what Passionflix is and finding the movie and finding my book. So that's been wonderful, but I do miss writing and I miss the publishing hustle. And so I'm excited to get going on these 3 brothers. And I have a very unique trope for this book one that I cannot share. But
it's a secret.
You're taunting us.
I sort of like to take tropes that are almost exclusively for like really dirty, smutty books and like almost like give it a more like lighter flavor of mine. Because I write spice. I write a lot of spice, but not necessarily erotica. So it's almost like I make it a more approachable version of something that's kind of you only see in the really dirty stuff. So that's why I can't quite reveal the trope yet, because I think people are going to be like, what are you doing with this, Amy? Like, just go with it. Just go.
Yeah.
With
it. That would be a good title. Just go with it.
Just go with it. Maybe we should change our title. Just go with it.
Just go with it. Yes.
I love it. Yeah. So yeah, it's another brothers series too, because I had so much fun with my Harris brothers. But you know, writing in British world and how I was having to have a British accent in my head and making sure the dialogue was like good for their type of, you know, style of speaking was a lot more work. And so this is all based in Colorado. So I can, you know,
it'll flow a little easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. My assistant is British and she says these things all the time. Like, he could speak for England, or I hope they're spitting feathers. That was a horrible, neither of those were an actual British accent, but both of those terms I'd never heard before. They're very British.
Jolly good.
Yeah.
Funny, because I can never really get out of my British. People like that. My editors are like, are you from one's from England? Because I even write like, and it's funny because I never wrote when I was actually in England, but I just, I say tomato and I say vase. I like
it.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, push, promote before we go?
No, I mean, I'm just excited to launch my Mountain Men series, and I'm writing, and yeah, definitely people can check out the Wait With Me movie on Passionflix and Amazon. And like I said, all my books are in Kindle Unlimited. And so that makes binging easy.
Yeah. And to follow you on social media because you are a bright light.
Well,
yes. And which events are you doing next?
I'm doing Love in Vegas in October. So
I'll see you there.
Oh, good. I was going to say, are you doing?
I am. I was like, Monica convinced me when we were at Chicago or Denver, somewhere. We were somewhere, and she was like, you should just email and ask if you can come too. So I did. And it was like the 8th one for the year, and I'm exhausted. But I'm like, it's Vegas. Like, how can I not?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's great. That'll be great.
Well, thank you for coming on, Amy. It's been great having you.
Thank you guys.
Absolute pleasure having you.
Yes, you're so positive, and it's so nice. Like I feel like we've been drugged down the past couple of days, and just you're such a light. It was so nice to smile through.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys made me smile a lot today too. So thank you.